years ago, the U.S. women's national team clinched its second consecutive World Cup title after defeating the Netherlands 2-0. In 2 days, they'll face off in a highly anticipated rematch. Wednesday's game will follow the Americans' victory against Vietnam in its opening match last week. The top-rated United States is seeking its fifth overall Women's World Cup title. Ella Brockway joins us now. She is a sports reporter for The Washington Post. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to start off with asking you about this opening match. How would you assess the team's overall chances in the tournament? We know that the Netherlands are coming back, but we saw what we saw in Vietnam. So what's your prediction?
Thanks so much for having me. Really happy to be here. And I think, there's only so much we can take away from one game with, a maximum of 5 still to go. But I think this first game looked a lot like what we were expecting to see from the U.S., a roster that's still kind of gelling together, a lot of players making their World Cup debut. But, good to see a lot of minutes from players like Megan Rapinoe, and then a rising star in Sophia Smith kind of having her big moment, scoring 2 goals, assisting on another. And I think that's all promising signs that the U.S. would want to see in its first game of the World Cup. And especially if a player like Sophia Smith continues to, find the goal and create those chances. As long as she's scoring and finding those opportunities, she's going to lead this U.S. attack pretty far.
And while it may take a little bit of time to work out the kinks and gel together, as you talked about, was there any other notable sort of results from over the weekend, whether it's with the U.S. team or other teams that they could potentially face?
Yeah, I think a big story of this World Cup so far has been some of these underdog countries showing that they belong and that they came here to play. And I think we got a glimpse of that from Haiti against England. Haiti is a team that had never played in a major tournament before now, but they have a really exciting group of young players. And they held England, who is the defending European champion, to a single goal, and which many people were not expecting. So that was a really interesting result that I think opened a lot of people's eyes. And then the next day we saw a Jamaica team that has appeared at only one World Cup before this one, had never won a single game at a World Cup. They held the 5th ranked team in the world in France to a draw without a goal. So I think those were 2 results from the early weekend that sort of made people, lift an eyebrow and say, okay, this is an interesting World Cup that's shaping up.
The Women's World Cup expanded, as you know, from 24 teams in 2019 to 32 teams this year. Critics argue the addition of 8 more teams could lead to some lower quality of play in the tournament. Is that a fair assessment? Have you seen that?
I think it's a tricky topic, because we just talked about a team like Haiti appearing in the World Cup for the first time and keeping it really close against England. And, we've seen a team like Portugal, another first-timer, hold the Netherlands to a single goal. So we have those results, but at the same time, we have seen some of these blowout score lines. We saw 2 of them this morning as Germany beat Morocco 6-0, Brazil beat Panama 4-0. So, it's hard to judge through one round of game if that means a direct change in quality. Mm-hmm. But I think we have to remember that, sometimes just appearing at a World Cup can lay the groundwork for, further investment and further success down the line. You look at a team like Spain that is a contender to win this year's World Cup. And in 2015, just 2 World Cups ago, they didn't win a single game in their first appearance. So, we have to kind of keep that long-term thinking in mind when we think about quality.
I remember traveling with the team in 2015. It was the first time they won the World Cup, the U.S. women's team, since 1999. And here we are talking about them having the potential to win 3 in a row. But they got to get through Netherlands. I want to ask again, though, do you have a prediction? And do you have a prediction for the score?
I think that I predict a U.S. win, probably 2-0. But I think a lot is going to depend on if Rose Lavelle is healthy enough to start for the U.S. She's probably the U.S.'s most essential player in the midfield. She's coming off of a knee injury and got around 30 minutes against Vietnam, which was great to see because she's so essential to this U.S. lineup. Mm-hmm. With her ball control and her creativity. So if she's healthy enough to start against the Netherlands, which is a team the U.S. is very familiar with, having played them in the last World Cup final and in the Olympics 2 years ago. If Rose Lavelle is able to give that kind of, to make a start and give that stability, I like the U.S. to win that game. And I'll go with 2-0 for a score prediction.
2-0. Ella Brockway, you predicted it right here on CBS News. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.